Again, I'm Teresa Haley. I don't take that for granted that everyone knows who I am. I'm running one because I was born and raised in Springfield and grew up in Ward 2 and haven't seen a lot of progress that I'm satisfied with, and I believe that I'm that change maker. I believe that I'm the best qualified candidate for the position. I wasn't approached by a party or people saying, hey, you should run. It was something that I prayed about. I took a lot of time to think about. I did a lot of homework and research because I like to talk. But when I speak, I want to make sure that I have my facts, that I've done my homework, because without documentation, it didn't happen. So when I talk to people about my concerns throughout the Springfield community, I want to make sure that I have my facts together. So I prayed about it. I contacted Frank McNeil, since he was the first Black alderman to serve in Ward 2. I contacted Gail Simpson, and it took me two and a half months before Gail finally took the time to meet with me, because I wanted to know the pros and cons, especially as a minority and a female serving on city council. So she and I had that conversation. I asked her if she would endorse me. She told me no. She said she wasn't endorsing anybody. She was focusing it on her own campaign, and I had to respect that. So that Saturday evening, I rushed home, felt that it was the right thing for me to do. I had been talking with members of the NAACP locally, regionally, and nationally to make sure it wasn't a conflict of interest. It was a good thing to do, not only for myself, but the community and the organization as well. In the state of Illinois, we have approximately 4 other presidents who serve on city council, and currently we have 3 more who are running for city council throughout Illinois. So they're excited about the fact that their members, their leaders, are wanting to take on additional responsibilities in the communities in which they live. I believe in being a voice for the community, and I believe that I am that strong voice. I am compassionate. Growing up in Springfield, grew up in the John Hay home, saw a lot of changes. Went to Springfield High School, was a cheerleader there, was also a cheerleader for Illinois Express. Matter of fact, I was such a good cheerleader, I even cheered for Herman Senor. He was a basketball player, so our families know each other. Went on to Sangamon State University, got my bachelor. Well, I can't leave out Lincoln Land. I went to Lincoln Land, and then I went on to Sangamon State and got my bachelor's and my master's degree and started working for the school district as a diversity specialist. It was a pilot position, pilot program. Lasted 1 year. They decided that we didn't want a diversity program here in Springfield. They saw diversity as another word for affirmative action. And 20-something years later, guess what? We're still talking diversity. So it's a term that's here. And then they brought in national speakers from San Francisco that said if we allowed diversity in our schools, next we would allow homosexuality and gay and lesbian clubs. And look at where we are today. So God works things out regardless if man wants them to happen or not, you know. Yeah, the sky has fallen. It is, right. Absolutely. So after that pilot program ended, I went to work for state government as a public service intern with a master's degree. And I completed that program, and I've been there ever since, 20-something years now.
At IDOT, right?
No. I started out at CMS. I was the assistant administrator for the Employees Assistance Program. And then I went on to the Department of Public Aid. And I was a trainer over there, a training specialist for public aid for 10 years. Then I became the assistant bureau chief for training and development for DHS and stayed there almost 7 years. And then I came over to IDOT, and it'll be 4 years for me next month that I've been at IDOT. So,
and your top title there was?
I am the operations training manager. So I'm responsible for safety training, such as the flagger training, the traffic incidents management training, and just keeping people safe. At the end of the day, we all say that we want to go home to our family and our friends, and we want to make sure that our employees go home to their families as well.
Mr. Senor,
Yes, ma'am.
would you like to
Could you repeat the question, please?
tell us a little about yourself and why you're running for alderman?
Yes, I'm Herman, Senor, lifelong resident of Springfield. Basically, I'm running for alderman because I felt there was a need to identify the distinct problems with Ward 2 and then intertwine those with the new part of Ward 2, which encompasses downtown and the areas north of Carpenter Street and south of Lanphier High School. That's a very vast ward that starts at the south end of Taylor Avenue where Taylor and Stevenson Drive meet, and it goes all the way up to 15th and Park, which encompasses parts of downtown, like I said, in the old Pillsbury plant. And I have a distinct idea of what to do with that Pillsbury plant since we have a railroad relocation coming through here. I've been married for 31 years. My wife and I, we have 3 children, all of which attended the Springfield Public Schools. We have a daughter that's getting ready to graduate with a law degree from Robert McKinney School of Law in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have a daughter that has a degree in biological sciences and a minor in chemistry from Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. And we have a son that's presently on scholarship at Quincy University, who is an academic all-conference athlete. So his studies are very important to us and him. And getting back to the Ward 2, which is where I grew up. Matter of fact, my mother still lives at 16th and South Grand in the big white house next to the old Gundy store. There are quite a bit of businesses that have left Ward 2. Those being stores like Schonbrun's, Kent's IGA, both on 11th and Cook and South Grand locations. The donut shops that used to be located on 15th Street, Mellow Cream, and the old Golden Glow on 11th and Edwards. Reckner's used to be up on Carpenter Street. The old taverns of Panama, Big Daddy's, Buddha's, the Hardee's at 18th and South Grand, Mr. Stewart's gas station, Sinclair, 18th and Cook. Cow Chow used to be on 18th and Brown. You have the Pink Store, which is Melton's old Pink Store. It used to be on Wirt and Laurel Street. I would like to see businesses like that come back to Springfield. We do have some staples that are still there, such as Humphrey's Market. The Chapardo's Italian Villa is hanging in there on 11th and Ash. And it's hard to name a lot of others that have stayed around and stayed the course. So it's very important that we do recognize that we need businesses in Ward 2, and we need services as well. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be taken to, as far as the areas south of Ash Street and the areas north of Carpenter. They have level streets without any gutter, so there's nowhere for the water to drain. A lot of residents are unemployed or underemployed in that area. And having grown up in the area and being familiar with a lot of the residents, I understand their concerns. But with your concerns, you have to want to get up and do something about that. You can't just wait for somebody to come knock on your door and say, here's a job. You have to be proactive, and we can't be reactive to a lot of situations. So if we can get out front, get the residents on there that basically have some pride in themselves and pick themselves up by the boots and go out and start looking for things. And there's ways where we can empower them, but growing up with that and seeing that that's still prevalent in Ward 2, I would like to see if I can't be the person to help change that, along with bringing economic development, making sure the infrastructure has its place to be taken care of, and just bringing Ward 2 back to where it was when I grew up there.
Why don't we go ahead and start talking about business development a little bit? First of all, the Pillsbury plant, you mentioned the plant, and that you have some ideas for maybe what.
I have a great idea. With railroad relocation coming through here, taking the trains off of the 3rd Street track and putting them on the 10th Street track, I think Pillsbury's already set up for some type of maintenance and upkeep of rail cars. There's a rail yard out there that would spur economic growth. It would spur development. There would be jobs available to people. And also we could use that in conjunction with the intermodal facility that they're going to build on I-55 when they have the new Ileana Highway, which will encompasses connecting I-55 to I-65 in Indiana. There will, of course, be trucks and trailers along with train traffic. And what we could do is across the street from the Pillsbury plant, which is the old lumber yard, we could use that for our freight.
Isn't the Ileana like almost off the boards because we don't know if the governor will go for it? A lot of people don't want it.
Well,
Right.
it could be and it couldn't be. It just depends on if they're going to let the funding and the plans go through.
Well, it also depends on if they have the will to pass it.
Well, if they do.
The governor wants to do it, which we don't know yet.
But I'm optimistic, thinking that they will. So going forward with that, I think that area is just one of the ideas that I have for development.
And have you talked to any railroads about this stuff you're talking
No, it's just an idea that I have. I want to get out front on that and make sure that people know I'm looking at the whole ward, because that is a part of Ward 2 now, the area which encompasses Pillsbury Mill. And also just the infrastructure, taking care of those things, making sure the residents come home and they don't have standing water in front of their houses, which is very prevalent in areas south of Ash Street and then north of Carpenter again, on between 11th and 15th on the north end and 11th and Wirt on the south end. And you just have to know that there are programs in place to take care of that, and it takes time to get those areas addressed. And we have to communicate that with the residents and have an open lines of communication so that they know that it's coming. And if there's something else that we can concentrate in the meantime, let's concentrate on that.
Have you talked to many residents about the Pillsbury plant and your being out and about and campaigning? And what are they saying much about, do they have any complaints about the property right now, or what are you hearing from people about
Up
that
there, it's
property?
just, we have that plant and it's there.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything with it. But actually, this was an epiphany that came to me this morning when I was in bed, and I woke up about 4 o'clock, and I called my sister and I called my other advisor and talked to them about it. They said it's great. You should have a press conference, and you should contact some developers and other people that would be interested in going forth with that. But I said, no, I want to put that out here to let people know that that was my idea, and I'm thinking for the whole ward. If you can get one place and spur economic development, which will bring jobs, and then jobs will bring better feelings amongst people, and it'll give them a feeling of empowerment.
Teresa, have you given much thought to the Pillsbury plant property?
No, I have not, and the main reason why is I grew up in the John Hay homes, and we used to walk past Pillsbury every day to go to Lanford High School, and we used to smell the pies and get free samples as kids. I mean, it was awesome. But when they closed that plant, like so many other industrial plants, they sealed it off. And there's a lot of toxics there, and so they didn't have the funding to tear down that location and to put something else there. So they'd rather just seal it off and leave it there. So it's been that way the last 30, 40 years, as most of us know. There was some EPA concerns. There was some community concerns, and I would not want to use the Pillsbury plant as a dumping ground. It seems like Ward 2 is becoming that industry place when there's nowhere else to put things that we don't want, such as freight cars, or even over in Stratford Place where we live, off of Stevenson Drive, right across the street from the Dane store where they're going to put that meat place that I was totally against. Yes, it brings jobs, but it ruins property values for the people who live in the ward. Now we have tractor trailers just being parked across the street there. If you're a semi driver and you don't feel like driving around with your full load, that seems to be a dumping ground. So I'm looking to find out, why are these people allowed to park here? And it doesn't look very pretty. And when I brought a home over there 21 years ago, I was excited about moving over there. It was a working class, it was a middle class area. People took pride in their property, and I was excited about being a part of it. When they built Stratford Place, they were very particular about what minorities they allowed to move in that subdivision, believe it or not. You had to have a certain status. They were usually doctors, lawyers, principals, retired teachers, those types of individuals. When we actually looked at purchasing our home, which was 3 years old when I moved over there, the guy at the bank said something that really threw me off. He says, "Are you sure you want to move over there?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's a nice neighborhood. It's a middle class, working class neighborhood." He said, "It's getting kind of crowded." And I said, "What do you mean it's getting kind of crowded?" And basically, you know what I mean? It was too many black folks starting to move over there. On my street, when I moved on that street, there were 2 other black families on my street. Now there's 7 or 8 of us, and we take pride. People should be able to live together. If you take pride in your home and your property, and you're concerned about neighborhood associations, and you're concerned about Crime Stoppers and looking out for one another, we're one big family, we're one big community. And then, in living over there in Ward 2 in Stratford Place, I remember when they started building up homes in Yorktown. And Herman lives on that back street. And with the neighborhood association, it started out being Stratford Place, and then it became Stratford Place, Yorktown. So I want to see Ward 2 businesses that are productive, that are growing, not just more industry-based in our ward, in our community. our residents are definitely concerned. So one of the things that I proposed at the press conference last week is to put a grocery store on South Grand. And I actually had the print and the design of it. It's 25,000 square foot. It will sit at the old lot where the old Kent's IGA used to be. And it has a library, which is 2,500 square foot, and it will be ran by volunteers. And it has a community center, which is also 2,500 square foot. Studies have shown when parents go to the grocery stores with kids, they spend an average of 30 to 45 minutes in the store if they're just doing a quick run through to pick up some items. But you know how kids are. So just think, if you're a parent and you have your kids or your grandkids with you, you can drop them off over in the library or the community center while you shop. They can do their homework, they can surf the internet, they can have mentors and just people to sit and talk to them about education and what's important to them. So that's something that I proposed, and I would like to see it happen. No, it was not my ideal. It was brought to my attention. They were looking at doing it in Ward 2 downtown, but it hasn't happened. And as long as the design is out there and the money, the funding is out there, and people are willing to put the dollars behind it, I think it would be great for Ward 2. It would be the shot in the arm that we need. When they built the new Dollar General store on South Grand, down by the Popeyes, they proposed putting that where the Kent's IGA was. Our current alderman said, I don't want another dollar store in my ward. We got one on Cook Street. We don't need to. Why not? That's jobs. That's meeting the needs of that community for people who don't have transportation. Just think if you can just walk over to the store and get some milk and get some Tide and some of those things. I think it's important. One of the things that I'm going to do is to get the pulse of the community is to hold town hall meetings in my ward. I want people to come out and talk about the issues that are important of concerns to them. And then we will break out in task force, develop groups and subgroups to see how we can make those things happen. Because I don't believe in meeting for the sake of meeting. I believe in meeting and coming up with real results. So grocery stores. Herman failed to mention my grandparents owned a dry cleaners, which sat at the corner of 11th and Capitol, right across the street from Lincoln Elementary School when I was growing up. It was Haley's Cleaners. They also owned the Shoe Shine shop downtown on 6th Street. They were partners with Bill Still's parents, the Stills. So Ward 2 encompasses so much of us, and I am glad that we have more businesses that are included in Ward 2. The governor's mansion is in Ward 2. So wouldn't it be nice, whoever controls Ward 2 has a lot to say about the infrastructure and money coming to Ward 2. Ward 2 is the original part of Springfield. It has the oldest infrastructure. So I think if we can toot our own horn and make sure the services are taking place in Ward 2 like they're doing the rest of the community, it's a good thing for all of us. And it's not about black or white. It's about people coming together, taking pride. The other thing that I've talked to some builders about building more homes over in Ward 2. When you come in off of Cook Street, South Grand, or Clear Lake, why not have some homes over there, 150,000 to 200 something thousand? I don't want to move out west. Yes, I could afford it, and I could have done it a long time ago. But I like my community. I like being 5-10 minutes from my job. I like being 5-10 minutes from my church. So getting builders to build and finding residents who would be willing to invest in having nicer homes, more expensive homes over there, like the one that you see on Cook Street. That pastor built that home. He'll never get his money out of that home, but or his cars. But it sure makes us feel good when you ride by there and see new construction. We have so much old infrastructure on the east side. So I could talk forever, but you might want to say something.
I'm sorry I missed the press conference. I was
Yeah.
last week. Is there a store that, I mean, are you talking to people who are actually wanting to do that and fund that, or is that also?
We have the combination, yes.
I mean, is there a particular store that wants to do that?
Yes.
Did you say which one?
No, I did not. They asked that I not release it until we get some more funding behind them. Yes, but we're excited about it. You know, you dream, and one day you wake up, and the vision is there. It's reality. So that's what I'm looking for in Ward 2, and I think people are looking for a strong voice, and I'm that voice. Yes, ma'am. It's coming from some realtors, some investors who are willing to build it. They were actually looking at downtown, but it fell through and the money's there. And I've even talked to some people at Dick Durbin's office who are excited about it and willing to put some funds behind it as well.
And
so,
did you name the realtors?
No, I did not.
So it's all a secret.
It's all a secret.
How much more
I didn't go into detail with them. I was just excited about the ideal. And if you can plant the seed and then grow the seed and go from there, it becomes a reality for us.
Herman, I'm sure you have additional ideas for the ward, I would imagine too.
Oh, yes, I
Not
have.
just Pillsbury. Would you like
Oh,
to
I have
elaborate some more too?
Yes, I'm going to start
You didn't let me finish mine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was just the grocery store, but go ahead.
I'm going to start a Ward 2 initiative fund, beautification and small rehab with part of my automatic salary. We also have, we're going to break the ward into 11 parts, which would represent the 11 precincts in Ward 2. And each precinct will have a captain and a person that's responsible for the fund in their precinct. Also, I'm have an initiative for underserved middle school children, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade that we're working on. We're looking for a place to house these underserved children, and the program's called the 3 E's. What we are going to do is that Wednesday when they get out of school an hour earlier than they usually do, we are going to house them and we are going to give them 45 minutes of education, so they'll come in and do their homework right away. Then they're going to eat. We have Gen H on board with us and 4-H on board with us. I talked to the people at Big Brothers and Big Sisters and also the Boys and Girls Club. I have a lady over the program. Her name is Lynn Williamson, who is over the program called Out of Africa, and she's very involved with enrichment in kids' lives, and that's what the last E stands for, enrichment. We're going to open them up and expose them to things that they wouldn't normally be exposed to in everyday life. As you know, in the middle schools, the kids get out of school at 2:20 and the teachers just say go home, and we don't know what the kids go home to. We don't know some of them are from single parent family homes, and they don't have the stability that my children had and enjoyed, and I'm very aware of that. And what I wanted to do was give back to the community that way. And if we can start with 1 or 2 or 10 or 20 kids, and we can get them and give them some self-worth and some assurances to let them know that they are somebody and they are important. And through this program, I think it would be a better thing for Springfield. And we're going to use children from all 4 of the major middle schools, Grant, Franklin, Washington, and Jefferson, knowing that some of these kids aren't exposed to basketball. They don't play any type of other sports. They don't join any clubs, and they're not served by Century 21. So we are aware of what's out there, and we're just asking the District 186 to identify children for us because they are the resource that we need to make this program successful.
There are other groups that do stuff. I mean, isn't like the Boys?
They do that.
Don't they do similar things? And I don't know, Frontiers, I know they have a middle school program. But
They do, but every kid can't get to the Boys Club. And this is not a program about color. This is a program about underserved kids. And we want to get all the kids that we can that are not being served by these other programs, because I've talked to the people at Gen H, I've talked to the people at 4-H, and they say there's a need for this program.
And who would staff and run this, and would they be paid or volunteer?
We are putting a board of directors together. That's the stage that we're in now. We already have we're working on our charter also. We've talked to Senator Andy Menard and Senator Dick Durbin. Matter of fact, Senator Andy Menard last week was at the Out of Africa program touring, because it's a group of, it's involved with the Compass program at Silas Johnson's church, which is Calvary Baptist Church.
Do you know his son?
Yes, I do, Sam Johnson, yes. And they were touring, and they were presented with artwork that these children in the Compass program made for them.
I have a follow-up question to that. Have you crunched preliminary numbers of what this would cost?
Yes, we have. We crunched those numbers. We crunched. We're in talks with UIS Extension so we can get staffers from their program to volunteer. Our paid program, our paid position would be an executive director, and then we would also have 3 teachers to oversee the 3 E's in the program. That would be the administrators for each one of the E's, and basically our other cost would be renting a facility.
And where are you hoping the funds going to come from?
We have a grant writer on board that's writing grants, and then we are seeking monies from the other folks that we have mentioned. And of course, when you set up a board of directors, one of their functions is to raise funds for the particular organization that they're serving. So we are hoping our board of directors would be very instrumental in raising the extra funds that we would need.
And the 3 E's are education.
Education, enrichment, and eating healthy.
And roughly what
Ballpark figure, I would figure probably for the first year about $400,000, because it's just a 1 day a week program right now, and we're looking at 25 weeks roughly.
What about in terms of business needs as well? Teresa had some ideas about additional businesses that would be beneficial more to. In addition to the Pillsbury plan, do you have some additional ideas for what you would like to see more to? Or what you would work to attract?
Pardon me?
Or what you would work to try to attract there?
You know, it's kind of hard because there have been businesses that have come in and left. I would like to see a business initiative program, a partnership with the city of Springfield, where they would actually come in and identify places that a business could go. They would partner with people that wanted to get into that type of business, and for the first year, and then have some type of written agreement between the city and this business owner, developer, so that whatever business was there, that there would be an agreement and there would be help from the city to get you established, and then it would be on you to come in and take that business over after a certain period of time and run the business establishment yourself.
Downtown tried to do something kind of similar to that, where they offered business owners free rent. I think it was for a year or so, and didn't fly very well. So, in your thinking with this particular program, what would make it different and successful?
I think you'd have to really study the area and make sure that the type of business you put there is going to be homogeneous, monogamous, whatever you want, something that the residents are going to come to. You know, the fast food restaurant Hardee's worked really well, and I don't know if how long you've been in Springfield, but it was a drastic event that occurred that really made the Hardee's shut down over there. Maybe we have a lot of, and I don't want to give these stores a bad name, but there's a lot of stores that sell small goods, like the fast fare, 7-Eleven type stores, convenience stores, yes, that are in Ward 2 now. But there's got to be some other businesses that the residents will come to and support.
Did you want Magro meats, by the way? Is that a difference?
You know, at first I didn't want Magro meats, and
you
then
did not?
I did not, because the question I have about Magro meats was, you know, how's it working in Auburn? Well, I went down and I saw how it was working in Auburn, and it's situated right in downtown. There's no smell. The residents are happy with Magro meats. My question was, he said he was going to bring in 20 jobs. Okay, so I said, okay, if you're bringing in 20 jobs, how many of those jobs are going to go to residents in the surrounding area, in the immediate area? Because you're coming into our neighborhood, you want us to support you, so you need to support us back. And I know you can't tell anybody who they can hire, but if you're telling me, okay, I'm going to bring in 20 jobs to your neighborhood, then if you let me come in here, then there should be something that you give back, because you're going to want us to come to your store and buy your product.
Has he hired locally? You know?
I have no idea on who he has hired. I haven't been given any information. I've seen him over there working. I support the business now since it's been okayed and he's moving in. So let's embrace it and move forward. But the question I still have is, of those 20 jobs you said you were going to bring, are you going to hire 5 people out of the neighborhood, 4 people out of the neighborhood, 6 people out of the neighborhood? How many of the people in the neighborhood are you going to employ?
You still think it's a bad idea?
Again, I still think it's a bad idea. Yeah.
It's a great thing.
Well, she thought it was a great thing, and we all went to the meeting when we had our neighborhood association meeting, and it was jam-packed for everyone, not only in our ward, but people who lived across the street on the other side in the other wards. They had concerns. It just so happens that I had to work out of town the night that people were down there speaking up, because you know me, I'll show up with my facts. My mom is from the South, and one of the things that we discovered in doing our research where these type of businesses have taken place, property value goes down. You have more rodents. I mean, rodents smell blood. And we're concerned about those things. They were concerned about the Butler apartments. That doesn't compare to what it's going to do to our property value over there. So yes, that was a big concern. And it seems that Ward 2 seems to continue to be a dumping ground. And I'm tired of it. Yes, they're there now, and we're going to have to deal with them, but we're going to follow up with them on a regular basis to make sure that they stay in compliance, that they're doing everything that's required. And I would like to see Ward 2 residents, again, as Herman stated, you can't tell people who to hire when they run a business, but if you want the community in the ward to buy in it would be nice to see some of these young brothers and sisters who don't have a job, don't have transportation, to be able to walk out of their apartments or their neighborhoods and just walk right over there to work. It's really bringing the business and empowering the people who live around the plant. That's the best way to persuade us that this is something good for Ward 2.
Do you have an opinion on that after-school program they're talking about?
No, I just see it as reinventing the wheel. There are great programs there that are currently out there. My granddaughter goes to Lake Town, and they have an after-school program ran by the Springfield Urban League, and it's a really good program, and it's ran throughout. It's Century 21 is the program, and she likes it, and she's a fourth grader. He's talking about kids that are at that next grade level, but I'm trying to avoid additional costs and over costs. We're talking about budget constraints with the city of Springfield, so I'm trying to live within our means and see how we can get volunteers. Being the chair for the American Red Cross and always raising funds are difficult. We have specialized and expert grant writers on staff in every organization that I'm a part of, but it's still difficult. So I'm more of a realistic person. But it needs to happen.
One other quick thing.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Senor, well, I just want to bounce the idea off because you kind of made light of the idea if they would get some kind of facility to fix rail cars or do something with the railroad as if it were a dumping ground, but aren't those good jobs? And I realize
But it's not a dumping.
If you listened, I didn't say a dumping ground.
I know, that's what you said.
I said to fix and.
No, I'm saying
okay.
You said that it was a place that you
Yeah, do rehab. Yeah.
I know Ms. Haley said dumping
ground. I said dumping
so
ground. Absolutely.
Why would a job fixing an industrial product be a dumping ground?
Why would it have to be located in Ward 2? There are other abandoned areas or areas available that might be more suitable. Yes, that land has sat for many, many years. It just seems like Ward 2 is becoming more of an industrial area. Growing up in Springfield, we used to have Fiat Alice. We had, other plants here in Springfield, and growing up on the east side, we used to have all the car dealerships that used to be in our ward, and that's all shifted to the auto mall. So when we're bringing and thinking about businesses on the east side, let's bring something that's a little more attractive, that makes people take pride in even living around those areas.
So that means Pillsbury gets nothing because they're not going to build houses there, right?
They're not going to build houses there, but there are other things that they can put on that. You could actually put a dry cleaners over in that area. They've closed down a lot of there are no dry cleaners in Ward 2. Providing those services that are neat.
There's a dry cleaners, yes, on Ash Street, and then on 10th Street, there's a dry cleaners, one-day cleaners, streeters one day.
That's not in our ward.
Yes, it is, ma'am, if you check your map.
I did check the map, and the map's always changing. And that's the other thing that I want to make sure that residents in Ward 2 understand which ward that they're in. Our ward has been cut up so much. Frank McNeil, who fought to have the ward alderman as opposed to citywide election, he went to vote and discovered he is no longer in the ward that he originally served because some of our precincts in Ward 2 have been split up. So it's about educating our community. And yes, I have the large map. I look at it. I walk the precinct. I talk to people, and people don't know. And I think when I become the alderman, one of the things that I'm going to do is send out a letter welcoming them, letting them know who I am and the services that I provide, and letting them know if they have any questions or concern. I have an open door policy. Not once did the current alderman ever come to and ask questions to my organization, and every organization that I'm a part of, we've invited our aldermen to come out and address us with their issues and concerns. Therefore, we can show up at City Council and address those issues on behalf and support our neighborhood associations, our Crime Stopper programs. So our voice, I don't believe, has been heard, and I'm willing to be that voice for Ward 2.
I did misspeak. That's 9th Street, the one-day cleaner, so that is wrong.
Okay, that's fine.
I know my map.
So both of you have indicated you got into the race partly because of a frustration that you feel you see the same issues going on, the same problems, the progress hasn't come to Ward 2. Why do you think that has been, and how would you approach the job differently in order to make that change happen?
Go right ahead.
First of all, I would work across the board. There are 10 aldermen. I can't do it alone. I have to be a team player. I have to be willing to go to those other aldermen and say, hey, here are my issues and my concerns. Are you willing to support me? That is so important, having that communication. I would also talk about my concerns and let them know which areas that I'm willing to support. You can get more with honey than you can with anything else, with lemon or salt or whatever you want to use. So having an open communication, talking to them, making sure that the needs are being addressed, inviting them to come out and to walk my ward, inviting them when I'm hosting those town hall meetings to be a part of it, and maybe talk about some of the concerns in their wards and getting buy-in all the way around from all 10 city council members.
Yeah, that's the first thing, is to cultivate the relationship when you get on the council. Very important, because other aldermen have needs also. But one thing I would like to do once I get on the council and I'm elected is to bring a piece of the old commissioner form of government back. In Chicago, each ward has its own budget. And if you're responsible and you have a pool of money to work with, then if something doesn't get done, then the residents and constituents can say, well, how come it's not done? When is it going to get done? So I would like to incorporate that little piece into my automatic run for governor. I mean, for governor, for alderman.
So what does that mean?
The,
Be given
if you would
$100,000 or
if-
$200,000 or $1 million?
a lot of certain amount of money for Ward 2 for infrastructure.
So and
and then
you as alderman would decide how to spend that
and-
for public works?
Well, it's just an idea, Bernie. But you would what I would like to do is see if that could work. Say, allot me a certain amount of money. Then we schedule the services and goods, because there already is a sidewalk program, there already is a paving program, and it's just when you get scheduled to do it. When is it scheduled for your
But
ward?
that makes you an administrator instead of a legislator.
Does it? Well, sometimes you have to mix it up a little, Bernie.
Any opinion on that?
None.
You get. I mean, if things don't get done in your ward now, even now, you're as alderman, you're to blame. You can't get us services, you can't get us goods for whatever reason it is. But if you really have control over something and you can schedule it, and I think if the residents see progress being made in an area, then they're more apt to believe you that you can get things done as an alderman. But right now, the way it is, you have to go in and get things scheduled. And
Well, don't they, I mean, the mayor was very, and Mark Mahoney talked about there's a plan, and
Yeah,
Simpson said that it seemed to be fair, and Doris Turner said in her word it seemed to be
yeah,
fair.
I didn't say it wasn't fair. I just another idea, something new, maybe something different that we can look at.
Okay. Tomorrow's column, as we take this, will say that the Democrats have endorsed you, the Republicans endorsed you. Do the parties matter? And also, Ms. Haley, when she did her opening, talked about not being asked to be in the race. And Herman, were you asked to be in the race by the Republicans or anything? Or how did that happen? And what does this mean that a party is for each of you? A different party is for each of you?
I really don't know what it means, Bernie, because no one asked me. I made a conscious decision myself to enter the race, and then I was approached. And
You're approached
if you
by
know
who? Oh, sorry.
would you like to answer, Ms. Haley? It seemed kind
No, I
of.
just approached.
If you know, my sister's Candace Trees, and she was the first black elected county official in the city of Springfield, and she has a lot to do with my thinking, and she's helping me in my campaign, and she's very instrumental. She's very bright, very outgoing, and no one approached me to seek out any endorsements. As you know, Corey Job has endorsed me. I think I'm going to get a couple other endorsements by prior people in politics. I'll put it that way, and I just feel like, with my background, with my upbringing, I played in sports, so I know when you have to be a team player in the city of Springfield to get things done. But the process is what it is, Bernie. Even though it's a nonpartisan election, at one point or another, politics is going to come into play. You're going to be labeled a Republican or Democrat. So I was asked. I went out. I accepted. I've accepted the nomination of the
Yeah,
Republican
but
Party,
endorsement of
endorsement of the
bank.
Republican Party,
Why are
and
you in that party?
because they have some principles that I think I line up with, but I think being labeled a Republican, somebody told me I was a conservative. I've never really labeled myself. I just go out and do what I want to do. I haven't voted straight Republican all my life. I know that I go out, and I'm glad the primary elections are nonpartisan now, and that's another thing. A lot of people didn't vote because they still think the primary is a partisan, and you have to declare which party you're going to vote for. And if we can communicate that to the residents and the constituents to get that out there, I think that message will be well received. But you know,
And Ms. Haley, why are you a Democrat? As long as I ask that question.
Well, I align with a lot of their principles. I would consider myself, although I'm labeled as a Democrat, if I have to check the box, they align with more of the programs that I support, that I believe in. I would consider myself more of an independent. Like Herman, I voted Republican as well as voted Democrat. I worked on Governor Egger's campaign. He was a great guy. I care about people, not about parties. So that's what's important to me. If anyone comes into my community or comes into my being and wants to make a difference and help people in Springfield and in my ward, I'm willing to listen and to work and to walk and hold hands with anybody. So for me, it's not about parties, it's about people. But when you have to align yourself up with parties, when I got out of high school, my best friend's dad was a Republican who worked for Egger. He put together the only Black Republican professional conference that I've ever seen in my life. It was held in Springfield at the old Holiday Inn. I had never seen so many professional Black folks dressed in suits, getting out of nice cars, coming from nice communities, speaking well representative. And I said, wow, look at that. The Democrats, when I grew up, they assumed that because I was Black, they automatically had my vote. And whoever has my vote, I want people to work for my vote because my vote is important. People fought, bled, and died for the right for all of us to sit here around this room today. So I believe in fighting for people. I think the last time I switched over going Democrat, Republican, is when President Barack Obama ran for office. To be a part of history and to be able to vote for the first Black man as the President of the United States, I would be crazy with everything else that I align myself with, not to switch over to Democrat and to support him in his efforts. The organizations that I'm involved with, especially the NAACP, it's a nonpartisan organization. We look at meeting the needs and the services of our community. Civil rights isn't about parties or politics. It's about people. It's about fighting for justice for everyone who sits in this room, and that's what's important to me.
We are starting to wind down.
Oh, let me say one other thing. And the other reason in starting to vote and doing my research, when Black people first started voting, they were Republicans. The Democrats were the radical party. So I think all of us need to do our history and know our research and do our homework. It's about people for me. It's really not about parties.
Can I ask one more thing?
Sure, I was gonna
You
say
go.
we need to get in a couple
Okay.
other things too. Go ahead, Bert.
This says, one of the things on Mrs. Haley's flyer here, demand city hires more minority employees, respective, I guess, for the overall population. Is that a goal of both of you? And how would you find, how can you demand?
Well, I don't think you can demand. I think you can work with the other aldermen, develop an ordinance, and that's the problem. We have all this stuff out here, but we have no ordinance in place that says that when we're doing contracts in the city, that it should be more reflective of the community in which it serves. So to ask for 20% of the contractors, the subcontractors to be minority, I think that's only being fair. We have not because we asked not. There's no ordinance out there right now that requires that the contracts, no percentage order. I would want, yeah, across the board.
You agree with that?
Bernie, that's an age-old question. It's one hard to answer. You can say we want to put it in the contract. We want to make sure that the language in the contract is provided for hiring of minorities. But do we know how many minorities went and applied for the jobs? Do we know how many minorities are available to are qualified to do the work that we're saying that we want them to do? What I would like to do is see certain organizations create a data bank if they're is a concern for not enough minorities in the job. So instead of being reactive, we're proactive. When these jobs become available and they say, well, we don't have anybody to fill the slot, then we have a data bank we can go to. We have a database we can go to and say, well, I think you're incorrect. Here's so-and-so and so-and-so. I think there's an organization that does have a database of people that they have ready to work, especially on the railroad relocation. Faith Coalition has a database of people. So, you know, I consider that a trick question, Bernie, because when you set goals and aims, and you of course we want the workforce to look like the city. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but we have to get the people prepared to do the jobs, and we have to get the people there to interview for the jobs.
My memory is that both of you in our previous debate said that you supported requiring city employees to live in Springfield.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Not now. I don't want the current employees to misinterpret that. I would like to see, and I was thinking about that on the way down because I knew that was going to come up. I would like to see new hires be hired into that would have to live in the city. But what if you have, and this leads to a whole nother question. What if you have a minority that wants to take advantage of a different school system than what we have in Springfield? Because if you look at the facility in Rochester and you look at the facility in Chatham, they're much greater than our facilities. And why is that? Because part of our tax dollars from the people that live in Springfield are going to these different places. And that's one thing I would like to address also. If you have a Springfield address, then the tax dollars should be coming to the Springfield School District and supporting the Springfield schools. There's no reason that each one of our high schools can't be its own campus, which includes...
But school boundaries aren't changing. That's
Well,
state law.
I know it, but I'm just stating what I'm thinking, Bernie. I would like to see each one of our public schools have its own football field, its own extra basketball court, because I'm very in tune with what's going on in Southeast, and sometimes those kids don't get out there till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night because there's only one gym. And if there's a wrestling meet during the basketball season, then those kids have to either not practice or practice after the wrestling meet's over.
Right. But the city doesn't have any control over the school district's funds.
No, they don't, but we have control over tax districts, correct? Don't we have control over the taxing districts?
As a city councilman?
In the city of Springfield, don't we set?
Yeah, so what would you do with that?
Well, if the tax money is going for educating our kids, just like the lottery, this lottery that we have is supposed to be for education, and where's all that money that we're getting?
Understood.
I know we're getting off on
this.
this.
Just doesn't give money to the schools.
I know it, but I would still like to see our city schools, each one of the schools, be its own campus. I know I'm getting off on another subject, but that's just a thought of mine.
Can I respond?
Mm-hmm.
I'm for residency requirement. I think it's important. However, I continue to state for those who are currently in the position who live out of town, I wouldn't expect them to move in. So it would be something that would be grandfathered in over time, just for future hires, definitely to make that a requirement. Now, when I worked for the school district as the diversity specialist, I wanted to buy a house in Lincolnshire. You guys knew how beautiful Lincolnshire was. It was before Panther Creek and all of that. I was told because I was a school administrator, I had to live in the district in which I served. And that's the kind of thing that we're wanting to see with people who are holding these upper level positions and making decisions on the behalf of City of Springfield. Your tax dollars need to go to the City of Springfield.
I was Lincolnshire, is that in Chatham?
No, it's in Chatham schools.
Oh,
Absolutely. It's a Springfield resident, and it's on this side of 72,
Yeah.
whereas Panther Creek is on the other side. So
I would ask, if the city had enough money for one of these positions, which one would you want to see? Either a city planner or an inspector general?
Inspector General. The Inspector General, even though they're hired by the city, they work for the people, they work for the community, the taxpayers. When we have complaints and concerns, they literally go out and investigate and render a decision based on that. A city planner, they're going to report to the city. I mean, they're going to be hired by the city. Why reinvent the wheel in bringing in a city planner? We have enough educated and qualified people who work for the city who can make those current decisions.
City planner, a city planner, someone that will define the city, look at infrastructure, plan out economic development, get businesses to come here, create jobs. Inspector General, which isn't there, hadn't the Inspector General already been approved? And they're just trying to find the money to fund the person. So, I mean, since that position has already been approved and they're just trying to find the funding, I think that the question is kind of moot, really, but since he's already going to be on board, I would like to see a city planner in this case, because if you can identify infrastructure needs, if you have someone that's concerned about the economic development, that's going to go out and recruit businesses, and it's going to tell businesses where they can come and where they can build and what would be beneficial for them, and you can create jobs, I would like to see that, because on the back end, the city planner would be in a position to create revenue for the city, whereas the inspector general would just be taking revenue from the city by virtue of us having to pay him being in his position.
Well, whoever's in the position, we're going to have to pay, and that's what the Chamber of Commerce is for, is to attract businesses to come to the city of Springfield. And the Better Business Bureau and Downtown Inc., I believe that we already have those organizations in place to attract businesses and make people want to come to our wonderful city.
Do we have a Better Business Bureau here?
We have something of the
I mean, we
sort.
got the
Yeah,
chamber.
yeah, we got the chambers, yeah.